welcome to the Stronger After Stroke podcast. I'm your host, Rosa Hart, and today I have a guest, Mr. Langston Gaither, and he is here to share with us his experience as part of a family that experienced stroke. So sometimes they're called caregivers, sometimes they're called care partners. Whatever you call it, stroke is not something that only happens to one person, would you say?
I would say that definitely.
Yeah.
We're all affected.
Exactly. Would you mind to tell us about your experience when your wife, Christine, had a stroke?
Yeah, it was really early in the morning. Christine just routinely got out of bed to use the restroom, but she shook me in a way that she would normally not bother me if we're in bed or whatever. But this time she wanted my attention, and of course I was startled, thinking, "What's going on?" And she basically said, "Hey, I can't see," and she was trying to focus, and I asked her to focus on me. I could tell that something was wrong with her vision at that point. She tried to stand up, and she immediately fell on the floor and collapsed. I then knew she was having a stroke. So unfortunately, that was when we knew life was going to change for us a little bit. My past as a firefighter, I kind of just tried to stay as calm as I could. I got the kids out of bed, got them ready, because I knew I needed to activate our little support group around us, the grandmothers and grandparents and everyone else that needed to help me at that point, because I needed to focus on my wife, make sure she was okay. And thankfully, everybody did exactly what they're supposed to do. And we were very grateful. And that's why we're here today. I could not, the caregivers around us and people and the partners around us, we wouldn't be where we are without them. I can guarantee that.
Definitely. So when you were in the hospital, did you spend the night in the hospital with her, or did someone share that with you?
I spent the night every night. There was not a time that I went by except for when we got transferred a couple of times. I would then change or whatever. But Christine's mother, being the mother that she should be, I mean, just coming by and doing exactly what I expected and what we all should expect, is to be there for her daughter. And she let me do my thing as a husband, but as a mother, I knew that going in. I said, this is her daughter in the bed that is recovering from stroke. And so we tag team. That's why I say that she was not just, in the background, or I'm in the background. We were both there tag teaming each other. So I was there every day, but every 2 nights I would go home, get refreshed, and she would stay there at night for her. So, but we were both there every single day for Christine. Yeah. So it was great to have the support system that she and I have around us. Both grandparents. My mother was taking care of our daughters, while Christine's mother was there in the hospital with us.
So did you have to miss a lot of work during this time?
I did, but I was very grateful for the folks that I worked for. Thankfully, I had the time in to allow me to take advantage of what they had available in terms of the benefits that allow for something like this, catastrophic events, to allow me to take the time off. They never stopped the paychecks, and they never stopped the other benefits to allow me to just do what I needed to do and focus on my wife and the kids. And that was very, very important for us. And then I will say that any corporation that has that, kudos to you, because we wouldn't be here if it weren't for that. All those things had to kind of work together all at the right time too. And so I didn't have to fill out any paperwork at the time. It was very stress-free. Yeah, very stress-free for that.
What was it like for you as a parent, or for your daughters, while Christine was gone for months in rehab and you were sleeping there most of the time too?
It was difficult. I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever asked my kids how they felt at this point, at that time, because I think they were still trying to figure out what was going on.
Right.
I probably could today. They could probably articulate what was going on 5 years ago, what they were thinking. But what was difficult for me was not being there. I'm a girl dad. My 2 daughters are daddy's girls, especially my now 7-year-old, but she was clingy then and more even clingy now. So to see them having to react to what was going on around them, it was difficult. and it was even harder to try to explain to them what was going on. My 10-year-old at the time knew kind of what was going on, meaning somebody's sick, you know, and they're, kind of taking it rough. But the 2-year-old just had no idea. And to see her react was a bit painful.
How long was it until they got to see Christine again?
It was about 3 months,
Oh, wow.
close to 3 months. But we did that strategically because we did not want to traumatize them any further. And we wanted Christine to focus on recovery, that was the word. I think I knew that backwards and forwards, that every step we made was a step toward Christine's recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did not want to make that any more difficult than it already was. So the best thing was to do was just let her focus on that. My mother was a caretaker for my dad before he passed. He had cancer, but to know that they were in good hands. Now, It wasn't just grandma. Grandma had skills. Mm-hmm. Grandma knew what to do. And so both those individuals, both grandparents doing what they had to do, and all the family and friends that we had at our church that would stop by my mother's house and say, hey, I took the kids something to eat. Hey, I'll stop by to just check on them. And I didn't have to ask sometimes. It was just beautiful.
That is really nice.
Yeah, it was great.
I want to interject here that is a huge blessing.
Absolutely.
But sometimes if your support system isn't used to being so supportive, you may have to ask for things. Did you ever have to ask for something that they didn't anticipate?
No.
You were so lucky.
I will be honest, blessed.
Yeah.
Absolutely blessed. And we still, to this day, run into folks that were there. Sometimes I still laugh. There was a time where I think I received too many baskets of fruit, and I had to ask a friend of a friend, hey, will you tell them, tell everybody don't send another basket of fruit. Langston actually needs like a basket of ribs or some chicken. I needed real food.
Tell people what you really need.
I was grateful for all the things that they had sent, but at one point, because I was spending the night so much up there, and the food they were sending, they were thinking fruit baskets. I get it. But then I learned the frequency of fruit baskets can get overwhelming.
Right. And then it goes bad. And then what?
Yeah. I could only eat so many oranges and apples at that point.
Right.
So, yeah.
Now, did you say earlier that one of your daughters was writing Christine letters?
Yes. My daughter loves to write. She's a great writer. And I didn't learn that. Even now, I still marvel at the way she writes and how she writes and how detailed she can be in short sentences. She's amazing at that. And there were some of the letters that she would write, even though she really didn't know what a stroke was. We were all learning because at that time we're young in our 30s and had no idea. She said, hey, my stepmother's sick. She would actually write letters to God. Those I still have on my nightstand. Every now and then she may find one in her room that would just, maybe she's cleaning up and go, oh, we showed Dad this, I wrote this. And the Facebook messages that will show up to let us know what we were doing 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. Every now and then, I think I took some pictures of some of those letters because people wanted to know what was going on. And sometimes even showing them the letters from my 10-year-old or something that our 2-year-old would draw would show up, and I would say, hey, the kids, this is how the kids are dealing with it. And they're just expressing themselves on paper. So Zuri would draw a big heart or something, not really a lot of words, of course. But my 10-year-old would actually write, hey, take care of my stepmom. She's sick. I want her to, get well. I'm paraphrasing, but there were so many that uplifted me as well as some of the staff. There was one time I came in and someone that saw the letters and went ahead and put them on the window for me. And so that was very nice of them to do that because we spent a lot of time working with some great folks.
Can you tell me about when your 2-year-old got to see her mom again for the first time?
Yeah, that was very, very touching day. We, like I said, we focused on Christine's recovery a lot. So what we wanted to do was make sure that not only the time was right for Christine for her recovery, but the time was right for the kids. And so we had some planning to do. And some conversations, obviously, to get everyone's mind right. And I was, again, grateful for the folks that I had around me, because whereas I'm just wanting Christine to see the kids, the best thing to do was to make sure that everybody was ready for that first. So we brought in our 2-year-old, and she knew that was her mother, but knew also that's a different person from that point on than the mom that she had seen prior to that. Christine's face was still recovering from stroke, from being paralyzed on her left side. Her eye on her left side was still being, repairing itself and all that kind of good stuff. Because of that, I'm watching a 2-year-old try to figure out who this person is, this new person. Like, I know that's my mother, but I know that's a different version of my mother. And from that point on, it always will be a different version of the Christine. It's pre-stroke and post-stroke. So we even just sometimes even use that demarcation in conversations, before I had a stroke or since I had a stroke. And that sometimes it's just the way we got to look at life.
Yeah, definitely. How do you feel different as a person since the stroke compared to before the stroke?
I respect life much, much more, and because it's so delicate. Any one of us, it affected Christine that night, but I was right next to her. So it could have been me, and I know that. And in a lot of ways, I wish it was, because I know she's a much, much better caretaker than me.
She would have taken real good care of you.
She would have took very good care of me. I had no problem with it. That's the thing. It's like I didn't know what I needed to know to be the husband I needed to be, the father I needed to be, the friend that I needed to be. Yeah, excuse me. 'Cause that was tough. It was tough.
It was a lot to learn really fast, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even with all those people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know she's very thankful for you. She's told me that every time I see her.
Well, I'm thankful that I had the strength to just keep going. And I try to be as calm as much as possible. Sometimes when you internalize that, you kind of gotta, at some point, it's gonna release. And sometimes it releases like days like today. I get to reflect on how blessed I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that has been a good outlet for you as you guys have gone through this journey and you've had some really trying seasons? Are there any things that you've done for your own personal self-care?
Some that involve not the most healthiest things, but I hooked up with my brother-in-law, got closer to him. He was involved in a cigar group, and they, embraced me. They knew what was kind of going on from the outside. Thankfully, social media helps tell stories for us. And I reached out to my brother-in-law and said, hey, I know he had just started a restaurant just a year prior, and I wanted to just go hang out for a little bit. I was saying, hey, look, I need a little release. And I would hang out with his friends who were a little bit older, and they embraced me. Had cigars before, but not in a club-like setting, meaning folks who just enjoy that sort of thing. And I kind of took on to it. And so that's been sort of my way of kind of like relaxing a little bit, long days and things like that. And even times when we knew Christine was well on her way, wasn't there yet. There were times when we said, all right, we know we're going to be okay. We know we're out of the woods. At that point, that's when I said, okay, now I can finally get back to possibly looking at what will life look like going forward. But I did embrace some friends, great positive guys that took me in and even told me of either their stories or family stories about stroke themselves.
Really?
Yeah, but to hear them talk about that maybe over, a conversation with a drink or two, and that's just something that we decided to kind of like, all right, this is a way of kind of releasing these guys to kind of embraced me and welcomed me in. I was the young guy in the group.
That's always a good feeling, right?
Yeah, it's no problem.
So
with
encouraging to be the baby of the group.
I really was the baby of the group. Yeah. But and I still am.
He's maintaining that status
right.
as baby of the group.
So even today, if I visit these guys at a place of their own or something like that, they still ask, "How's your wife doing?"
Good.
And I know what they mean by that. Even just in those few words. I let them know she's doing great, and that is the truth. Christine is recovering still, little baby steps more and more every day. But to see her today driving on her own back at work, you'd have never thought. and to again reflect the way we have been today, says a lot about the journey she's been through. It's gone from not being able to talk, walk, or feed herself for a while, and then she can do all of that and even more.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of her, and again, I'm thankful for the people around us. I could not be anywhere close to the caregiving partner that I was without those people around me. I could not.
And that's so true, because none of us can be like a one-person show. We're not an island.
Yeah.
We all need support. So while you're giving to your wife who needs you, you also had your mom and mother-in-law to help be there for her, and your daughters, and then they probably had their support systems as well, I assume.
I'm sure, yeah.
And then outside of that, your guy friends probably didn't have anything to do with Christine directly, but by supporting you emotionally in that community, obviously that's meant a lot to you and been so important for maintaining that hope and not feeling isolated. So thank you for sharing your story about letting other people help you and not feeling like you have to do it all by yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm grateful for this thing you have here. This is awesome to be able to express. Thank you.
Oh, definitely. Sharing is caring, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you for tuning in to the Stronger After Stroke podcast, where we answer frequently asked questions after stroke, as well as provide hopeful stories from people who have been through a similar journey. So I hope you found this encouraging. If so, please leave a comment wherever you're watching or listening, if it's on YouTube or on any of the audio platforms, to let me know where you found us. And subscribe so you'll be notified for the next episode, and I'll see you there.